What's up everybody, Brian here with BPS Customs, and today we're going to be talking about this chip. This is Intel's new Broadwell i7-6800K. So a couple months ago when I was planning out my upgrade to Deep Red, I ran through a review of the 6900K, which you could find up here. The 6800K is the replacement for the lower tier Haswell E chip, the 5820K, which I actually used to run in my personal rig before the 6900K came along. The 6800K is actually a much more power efficient version of the 5820K, still sporting 6 cores, 12 threads, and 28 PCIe lanes. It runs on the same 140 watt TDP, but because of the manufacturing process, it's supposed to be more power efficient. We're going to check that out by running some thermal tests on the chip while we do the benchmarking. This little guy is the direct replacement for the previous generation's Haswell E5820K. Comes in at about $400 US and is actually at the bottom of the range of Intel's high-end desktop line. That's not to say that this is a low-end CPU. Intel's high-end desktop line is made for enthusiasts, whatever that really means. Caters to creative professionals and extreme gamers, I guess. At the time of the shooting of this video, Intel's mainstream line of processors tops out at the Skylake 6700K. Now this is a quad-core chip with hyperthreading that boasts pretty impressive base and boost clocks. This really helps it out in single-threaded applications, and the chip is targeted more towards gaming than productivity, although because it is a quad-core with hyperthreading, it does hold its own in these kinds of tasks. The high-end desktop line, however, starts at a price point about $50 above the top-of-the-range Skylake i7. This is because Intel is packing more cores, more threads, more PCIe lanes onto these chips. The entry-level chip into this platform as of about May of 2016 is the 6800K. Now you still can get the 5820K, and it is a little bit cheaper than the 6800K. As the 6800K is a direct replacement for the 5820K, I wanted to do a comparison video to see if it's worth going with the newer architecture. Additionally, I'm going to throw in some performance numbers for my 6900K, which is in my main system right there. So let's take a look and see how these chips compare to each other. All tests were run on the same test bench setup, which is an Asus X99 Sabertooth motherboard with an upgraded BIOS to support Broadwell E, 16 gigs of Crucial Ballistics DDR4, a 650 watt Thermaltake power supply, and an NVIDIA GTX 1070. So as you guys can clearly see, while neither of these chips really measure up to the 6900K in performance, that's not really what they were meant to do. As I said before, both the 5820K and the 6800K are entry-level enthusiast-grade products. They're meant to be a step above the consumer-grade products without breaking the bank and without going into the extreme upper tier of performance like the 6900K and even the 6950X. I wasn't able to squeeze quite as much of an overclock out of the 6800K as I was out of my 5820K. However, the thermals on the 6800K were better than the other two chips in this comparison. We only hit 43 degrees Celsius under load at stock volt and stock clock speeds. When we overclocked the chip to 4.2 gigahertz, the maximum we hit was 69 degrees Celsius. Now this is quite an increase, but keep in mind we were running it at 1.3 volts and an overclock of 800 megahertz over the stock clock speed. Still, these numbers are far better than what we were seeing from the other two chips in this comparison. We were using a Corsair H100i CPU cooler, which should be sufficient to cool almost any chip. So the fact that we were hitting 78 degrees Celsius on our 5820K indicate, yeah, Haswell runs a little bit hotter than Broadwell. So if everything else was equal, you clearly want the more power efficient chip, and that's the 6800K. And as it turns out, things are pretty much equal. You could see across all 4 of our tests that scores were in the same range. Now, of course, the scores aren't going to come close to our 6900K, and that's okay. That chip costs 2.5 times what the 6800K costs. So just to wrap up, we have a direct replacement for a chip that was already an all-star performer that performs about the same and runs much cooler. Seems like a no-brainer to me. If you're looking to get into the high-end desktop line and the X99 chipset, but you don't have a whole boatload of cash to spend, the 6800K is definitely the real deal. That's it for this video, guys. Check out my other video right here where I review the EVGA GTX 1080 for the win. Get subscribed right there, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching as always.